issues with his visa. Apparently, all the difficulties between the U.S. and Russia that had been going on recently, and it shut down the U.S. embassy in Moscow. He had to mail his passport across the country, all the way east to Vladivostok, 7 hours by plane, and then it had to be mailed back to him to get his visa. That delayed him tremendously in getting here. Finally got his passport and got on a plane and finally just got back. And then another Russian had an issue in Sergei Karyakin, as he had his flight from New York. He was already in the U.S., New York to St. Louis. Basically
been a kind of a trendsetter of late. A lot of players have been picking up on what he's been doing. He's been playing the white side of a London system with a bishop coming to f4 and a queen's pawn opening. Today he played what has become quite popular, especially Hikaru Nakamura and even Wesley So have been picking up on this very early, I want to say, Nimzo Lars and queenside fianchetto. And after c4, e3, knight c6, inviting a reversed Nimzo Indian, bishop b5. First, bishop b2 was played, and now Fabi played an incredibly challenging move, I want to say. f7, f6. Wow. What this move tries to do is seeks to set up a huge center pawn, pawns on e5, d5, and c5, taking over in the entire center. And Grischuk, not content to play bishop b5 and a Nimzo, played d4, captures, and this would all look very normal if there was a black knight sitting on the f6 square. But with the pawn on f6, has Fabi, with this move bishop g4, fallen into a position that actually is very bad for him because of this move f7, f6 on the board, and we're up to date with the players. In other words, I'm saying, did Fabi overreach by playing this move f6, trying for the center?
What do you think?
I think he did.
Yeah.
I think he just kind of got caught out of sorts with this move f6, because it's very clear
in this position.
You're not going to be able to play e5. Now, when my opponents played the move f6, I really badly want to play this move c4. For example, if I play c4 and you capture the pawn on c4, that, in my view, would be a very bad idea, because this bishop on c4 is looking down this beautiful diagonal. Now, c4 may allow a check along this diagonal, which maybe I don't want to allow. So a move like h2, h3, putting the question to the bishop, or knight b1 to d2, and I like that white is about to play c4 and take over the game. It looks dangerous for black.
Indeed. I mean, speaking of overreaching, we've got Grischuk and some interesting positional things that just happened to that game.
The game is definitely heating up, as white did manage to play a3 and c4. I get to the current position, and we'll jump back to your board, but I'm very surprised by this setup. I get the live board here. There we go.
So how's the move bishop c5?
How is this happy trails for black? I have no idea. I would be terrified if I were black in this position.
Agreed.
Really risky chess on Fabiano's part.
And the reason why I would be terrified is I'd see this pawn storm coming from white's point of view, and I'm way behind attacking the king. If you could just...
But attacking, you're talking about way behind, yes. Where? What attack?
Well, I mean,
look
you
at
got
that
to
king
play...
position. How are we getting in danger against his position?
H5, H4 to get your attack going. But
where? Even if I gave you those moves, this, though, looks obvious. C5, B4, B5.
Exactly.
Oof, you get blow. C6. Open up the position. Over here, I'm not even sure what the move order is to attack this perfectly defended king with no weaknesses in the structure.
Right.
This looks awful.
Yes.
This looks really bad for black. He's going to have to do something. And he's at 13 minutes. Grischuk, of course, is normal time pressure issues. He's at 11 minutes and change. But this is a very nice position for white to play for all practical purposes. Black's in trouble here.
Speaking of another nice position, I do like the position that Vichy is actually conjured up against Hikaru Nakamura.
Short on time, obviously, we're getting to that position, but the position is so rich, Yaz, with both sides getting their attacks going. But now we're playing Blitz. Who do you like?
Yeah, this is
Fabi's ahead on top.
pick 'em kind of game. But I thought that the C5 B4 that White was getting in there first with the mostest, so I'll still favor White.
But how to increase the attacks,
Exactly.
considering that Queen E8 check, Knight B8 seems like we're holding on.
Right. So I think it's time to utilize the B file. That was why
Yeah.
we played B5. So let's start. Oops. Actually, it's Black to move. White has just played the move Bishop C3.
just played. Okay, so he's trying to maybe play Queen
Open.
E8 check with the idea that Knight B8 can be met by Bishop A5.
Right.
So that's a little bit of an irritant.
So this move, Bishop C3, like you're saying, seeking to control the A5 square, but more likely just to open up the B file so that a rook can get there. Let's go back to this game between Grischuk and Fabi.
'Cause it's gonna be
Lots of
thrilling.
crazy things going on here.
We mentioned Bishop C3, Queen A8, not really a threat because there's also just King to D7 gaining a tempo. But
And
Bishop F5 was Fabi's
like-
choice. I like the move. He's trying to stop your idea of playing Rook B1.
Yeah, but it's a dual-purpose move, and it's one of those really, really nice moves. In the first place, you stop the Rook B1, which is what we were all gung-ho about. Secondly, the bishop on G4 is actually in the way of the pawn storms. You want to get those H5, H4, G5, G4 moves in, and this move gets out of the way of G5, G4, which will, with this queen and bishop battery looking on H2, I don't know what's going on here, Maurice.
And that's such a rich position. We've seen endgames
Whoa.
come and go, and these guys are still playing this crazy chess position. And Grischuk could only admit it.
If you, there was a recent tournament in Biel, Switzerland, the Biel Chess Festival, and Shaq.
And here we have the Grischuk, Fabiano, the last game of the round, as two of our American heroes have already fallen. Will Fabiano save the honor of the chess capital of the United States in this first round?
Fabi's probably thinking, good, these guys are losing. Maybe if I win, I get back into business.
And by
That
the
was
way,
really ugly for the two Americans that we featured at the top of the broadcast.
it feels to me like the tables have turned tremendously, and I really like Fabi's position now. At the moment, this king on D7 may not be all that great, but none of White's pieces are getting to the king. Well, look at the white pieces on the first rank, the rooks on the first rank, the queen, the knight. Everything's in defensive mode. These rooks are actually poised.
Now it's my
for,
turn.
Yes. As we say in Spartacus, shall we begin?
But how do we get that queen into the game? Yes, isn't that important if Fabi wants to break through and get a mate?
He's just eyeballing a sacrifice on H3 followed by G3 to
Ooh,
G2.
as you spoke.
And
There it
no
goes.
truer words.
G2.
And
7 seconds left for. He's down to the seconds.
After
yes.
Rook G8, what happened? What was Grischuk's move after this move? Rook G8. And
After Rook
It was
G8, 93.
93 was played.
93, and bang, instant sacrifice, takes
No
G2.
doubt.
And
Banking
then
down
came
those moves is Caruana.
Knight G4.
And then we see Rook takes H3
H3.
on the board.
Wow.
Down to seconds on the clock.
6
4 seconds. He does get that 10-second
It doesn't matter
delay.
how much time he has on that clock or not have on the clock. His king is dead. This
Rook
is
takes
murder, she wrote on the
H3.
chessboard. As look at those
Queen
pieces
E2.
in the pawn
Queen
and the
E2.
exposed king.
And then what happened after Queen E2? Because
Queen E2, Fabi's thinking.
Queen E2, Fabi to play.
Yeah, so the only...
Computers
I'm
announcing
looking
mate
at
in
Bishop
5,
E3
by the way.
check, right? Isn't
Computers
it?
announcing mate in 5, but he played Rook G4.
takes G4.
Bishop H2 check was winning on the spot.
Rook takes G4 played, allowing
And
Queen
Bishop
takes
E3
E6
check
check.
was and
Queen takes E6 has been played. King D8. That was Fabi's plan.
okay. His king drops back. He's still offering the rook. Is Fabi
But
And
you
it's
can't
been
take it.
taken.
Now Bishop
And he-
E3
But now
check
there's
and you
Bishop
have to
E3
resign.
check.
because he's threatening
Queen
Queen
H2.
H2.
Queen H2
What-
mate.
what-
Simple.
What
And there
were
it
you-
is.
What were you saying? How are you going to get the queen into the play?
Oh, there we have it. He did it. Rook E3, Queen H2 check. G1 will be
Double check.
exactly double check. Make that
ooh,
two women
Fabi.
on the board. And Fabiano Caruana. All of the players who were on the bottom of the score table.
Turnaround, because I did not like Fabiano's opening, but it sure looked like he outplayed him in the final position that he resigned in. You were just mentioning this was the position that Grischuk had seen enough. He threw in the towel. Had he continued with the only move possible, Rook takes E3, he would have faced a checkmate in 2. Look at that. promoting with check these queens, these rooks. Man, suddenly, you were showing, I swear, Maurice, you were showing this beautiful pawn defense on F2, G2, H3. White's king was as safe as you could possibly be. And this final position looks like a full disaster. What happened? How did he pull that off?
That bishop F5 move, you gotta love it.
It did. That was
attack and defense.
That was a great dual-purpose move. Yeah. But let's just take a quick look. Yeah, game between Grischuk and Fabi, where for me, you know, it really starts to go wrong right here for Grischuk. I'm thinking all I need to do is just push my pawns forward. I'm looking at a move, for example, like Queen B3, eyeballing A4 and B5 next, and I think Fabi's toast.
Dare we say, push him, baby?
Yeah. After his structure kind of got dinged. That
you
is
didn't
to
like
say,
bishop C3 though. You wanted rook B1 right away.
Well, no. I'm thinking that right here is
there's no time for it.
Where Grischuk kind of went off the rails. I'm thinking that all he needs to do is protect the pawn on B4, play A4 and B5. He can do it in two ways. One way is to play bishop C3, A4 and B5 next. Another way is to play queen B3, A4 and B5 next. Instead, what Sasha got interested in is playing B5 at once. And after this, it was actually Fabi calling the shots. And once he got in G3, it's very, very clear who has the initiative. And maybe Sasha could have defended better. But boy, that was very impressive.
That's right. That's just what we like to see in Blitz games, right? I mean, it was rapid, but rapid turns into Blitz.
Right. And